Well, we're in the second part of a series on dangerous leaders and how to identify them. And we're looking at 5 areas that leaders work in. One we already talked about was how leaders handle problems. The second one we're going to deal with here is how they make decisions. We'll also look at power, response to stress, and how leaders handle failure. So those are the 5 areas we're looking at to see whether or not a leader is acting in a destructive way. And we want to identify destructive leaders and make sure we're not becoming a destructive leader. So the second one is about decision making. Destructive leaders make decisions this way. They're more interested and driven by being right than doing right. They're more interested in being correct than doing the right thing. And it's dangerous because the need to be right can stand in the way, can form a barrier to doing the right thing. How do you know it when you see it? It usually comes out like this. I've observed with leaders that their ideas are always the best ideas. If they are this destructive leader. Remember, destructive leader is one who damages culture, damages trust, doesn't facilitate team, and so on. Their leaders, their ideas have to be the best. And that creates a blind spot to other ideas, and therefore they can't see certain realities. I remember working with a team. The leader was obsessed with the idea that a different strategy was the answer, and the team knew that that wasn't the answer, that it was a funding problem. They were afraid to confront the leader about it and talk about it. But you could just see around the room they were saying it's not a strategy issue, it's a finance issue, and yet the leader couldn't see it because they were obsessed with the fact that their idea was the best idea, that their strategy target had to be met. Another thing that's an indicator in this is they often think that their conclusions are the most accurate, so they give quick answers, which stunts the process for decision making. Another thing that is prevalent in a destructive leader when it comes to decision making is they only see the world through their own experience. Their experience is the only true experience, and therefore they go to just that one well over and over and over again, and that well soon gets dry, and they don't have anything to draw from. And finally, the thing that really stands out is the destructive decision-making leader seems to always have to have the last word. You got to remember the last word is not always the best word. But there's always this, well, just remember, or in an email, well, just don't forget this. Or a comment like, well, all I know is, and I tried that in college with my roommate. I remember he said, well, if that's all you know, you're not very smart. But I had a leader that said, hey, look, I'm great and collaborative, and I have an open door policy with people. And when I did 360 interviews with his team and gave him the feedback, I just told him the truth. I said, yeah, you have an open door policy, but people are worried about getting stabbed in the back on the way out the door. Because he would always throw that last thing in that where he just had to have the right answer, or just remind them, you better have that by Friday. It just stunted cooperation, growth, and development, and didn't help make decisions. So when decision making is more about being right than doing the right thing, it really does create a barrier, and it keeps people from being able to do the right things, like sharing ideas and pursuing growth and sharing ownership and seeking truth and finding new data. So remember, dangerous leaders make destructive decisions. Don't be one, and we're going to talk about later what happens if you have one.